All right, this is a quick video about gobos. We have a special request for Christmas for use of a gobo to project a pattern on the wall of an angel. And so I figured we'd just do a quick video here talking about the gobo sizes and whatnot. So on the screen here, this is on ETC's website. We use ETC Source 4 fixtures, and those are kind of the only one we use for projection of images outside of our moving lights. And so this shows you the common gobo holders. Predominantly we have A sized here, this middle one that goes in the gobo holder slot. There is B sized ones, which is slightly smaller in size. You can see the size there. And then this one goes into the drop-in iris slot. That's also an A size as far as the size of the hole at 100 millimeters, but the frame itself is larger. And so we'll swap down here on this image to the fixture itself. This is looking top down at the fixture itself. Here you can see your shutter blades here, and right in front of the shutter blade there's that little slot, and that's where the second and third gobo holder size, either one of those will fit in there. And then that first one that was bigger, this is the drop-in iris slot, which is cool. You can drop an iris in, and there's a gobo holder frame for that as well. And you can kind of see on the image there's a screw here on the other side, because that will cover it up. That way we just don't get light leaking out there. So if you do use a drop-in iris or a gobo holder that fits in there, you undo both of those screws, you slide it to the right or towards the barrel end of the fixture, and so you've got a place there. But most people use the gobo holder slot. Here on Roscoe's website, which is where I probably get most of my gobos from, you can see the different sizes, letter size here, and the outer diameter, the inner diameter. You can see here B, it says industry standard for most ellipsoidals, while A will fit in most. If you source for junior ellipsoidals, those need a slightly smaller one. Minis and then moving lights, they're all over the place as far as size. The big thing to know is that the smaller the size of the image, the lower the resolution you have. But there's also a trade-off, because obviously fine lines and details you just can't only make so small. So when you go with the larger sizes like B or A, you can get some of those fine details in here. On a breakup pattern or something like that isn't something that you're intentionally supposed to recognize, kind of the bigger the better. However, what you'll find is that certainly in a source 4, going with the letter size B, if you're doing words or text when it's smaller than that, or smaller things or fine details, or something like a perfect circle or a perfect square, things like that, the smaller the better, just because the way that the lens distortion gets involved. So you'll be able to get a sharper image by going with a slightly smaller image than going for the largest image possible, at least when it comes to your gobos. The other thing I don't see referenced enough in documentation about this, but there's lots of field experience, is that up here in the front where your gel holder or your gel frames go, what we'll often do is we'll take a piece of black masking foil, and in the in the gel frame, cut a hole that's slightly smaller than the actual aperture of the fixture, and they're often called a donut, and that chokes out some of the light bleed, and so you'll get less blooming or blossoming off the edges of the gobo itself, so your pattern will project more cleanly and more tightly. Here's another website. These are examples of gobos that, in these cases, these are going to be glass gobos. And again, you take this custom logo, you put it on a smaller surface, like this is used in a moving fixture. You're going to lose some details. The details can only be extrapolated or magnified so much before you start to lose the details. Here, this website says that you get almost 3 times bigger detail because the size of the gobo itself is greater detail. Also, let's see if I've got an image here. The most common type is out of steel, and since it's one contiguous piece of steel, there has to be connecting points all the way, just like in a traditional like stencil. So you can see here where it's like the O and the D, how they have connecting lines connected. And with steel, you have to do that. And when we go back to this image, like, well, How do they do those details? Well, these are going to be glass gobos. So glass is another option that can do both black and white, but you can also do colored images as well. So kind of neat that if you want color gobos, you can do that. Something of this detail, I don't know if I've seen something of that degree done in real life, but I've seen things like this where you've got maybe stars that are in a color instead of just white. So those are glass, steel, different details and resolution. And I'll just see real quick if I can see a gobo. Trim this out just a little bit. Great. Okay, here's a great website here. Musson Theatrical, I used to work really close to them and do a lot of business with them. So these are doughnuts. Doughnuts go in the gel frame slot, and in the source file there's actually a space for 2 gels. So you could do your gel if you needed to gel out the image, and then also put the donut in here. And as it says here, it helps sharpen the gobo projection by reducing the diameter of the output lens. Kind of like squinting the eye, it helps improve the clarity of the gobo. However, you do reduce the brightness. Here they've got different sizes depending on and recommendations based off of the fixture and the lens tube you've got attached to it. And in case you don't know, here's a source for lens tubes that are like your conventional or halogen-based fixtures. On their new LED fixtures, they've also got these XDLT lens tubes, which are slightly different. And so you can see here, there's, if I'm looking at 26 degrees, in the XDLT we need this one, but if we're doing a conventional one, which is they show as standard or EDLT, then it's a slightly smaller opening. The XDLTs have a much bigger front aperture for them. So anyways, these are the sizes. This is a commercial product, kind of cool, not that expensive. Growing up, we just would take a regular gel frame, and then we'd use the black foil, slide that in there, and then cut out a hole, basically of the right diameter until we got the image resolution we're looking for. So we're also going to show this video really quick off of YouTube. Apollo, who is another manufacturer of these gels, does just a great demonstration here on 2 things I want to point out about gobos. First of all, the gobos do go in upside down because of the way the focus point is on the fixture. So you can see him holding up the gobo, looking where he wants the gobo to end up, and then what you see is he flips it upside
gobo,
down.
hold it up
So
against
top
the
to
screen that
bottom,
you're projecting
flip,
on,
but not left to
and
right.
it's
So you
oriented
just
the way
flip
you want it to
top
look. So
bottom,
you would
he
flip
spins
it,
180,
flip it
and then
again,
flip that left to right, so it's left to right and up to down. So
put it in the holder,
you'll stick it in there,
put it in the light,
puts it in the source 4,
and it comes out.
It loads in there just perfectly fine. Now what you'll see around here is what's called some
in the right orientation. Now when you're using clean gobos, you might have to use a donut
of the back there of the neck of the horse, and so that right there in his hand is a gobo
on the front of the light to clean up some of the light, stray light beams, because the lenses in here can be dirty or smudgy, and by using a donut it will clean that up quite a bit. Again, we have 2 different types of donuts here. We have the thick line, which is a little sturdier, and then we have the thin line, which you can fold up, put in your pocket while you climb the cherry picker, and they're disposable.
Or, like I said, we just use some black foil and drop it in there and choke off the light. Again, you'll lose a little bit of light intensity, but it does improve the image quality. All right, that's all I've got for you on gobos and projecting images.